This castle and its surroundings soon reveal the mysterious secret of a long-lost train full of Nazi treasure.
Deep beneath the surface of a remote forest, a long-forgotten Nazi bunker from World War II has been unearthed, and what was discovered inside is nothing short of terrifying. Sealed for decades, this hidden stronghold held more than just rusted weapons and crumbling walls. Investigators stumbled upon extremely strange artifacts, strange symbols, and chilling documents that hint at secret experiments and a dark agenda the Nazis never wanted the world to know. So, what was really going on in this underground lair? The truth is more disturbing than anyone ever expected. Beneath the pines, tucked quietly among the postcard-perfect Bavarian Alps, where travelers today enjoy warm coffee and gaze at snow-dusted peaks, a chilling secret had been hiding, untouched and unknown for nearly 8 decades. It all started when a team of maintenance workers showed up for what was supposed to be a simple inspection under a cozy, rustic hotel that had stood there for years. As they poked around the building's foundations, something odd caught their eye. An old slab of concrete shaped like a door, sealed tightly and forgotten with time. Curious, the team began clearing away the dirt and debris. With each chip and crack of the concrete, the past began to stir. What they uncovered wasn't just an old storage room or utility shaft. It was the entrance to something far bigger and far stranger. A hidden underground Nazi bunker, long buried beneath the forest floor, preserved almost perfectly in the dark, damp silence. As they stepped inside, narrow tunnels stretched out before them like the arms of a maze, twisting deeper into the mountain's belly. The air was cold and still. The walls were thick concrete, built to withstand anything the outside world could throw at them. The workers moved carefully, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. Room after room revealed eerie signs of the past. There were rusted metal bunk beds lined against the walls, worn-out desks covered in dust, and scattered items from another lifetime. Helmets, old boots, shattered glass. But what startled the team the most was a bathtub, completely intact, porcelain white, and remarkably clean, as if someone had stepped out of it only hours before. It was unsettling. Why would a wartime bunker need such a personal comfort? And then they found it. At the end of one long passage stood a chamber unlike the rest. It was bigger, sealed with reinforced steel, and isolated from the other rooms. Inside, the walls were thicker. The layout was more refined, even strategic. This wasn't just a hiding place. It looked like a command center, a room built for someone important, possibly someone like Adolf Hitler himself. Historians and experts have long known about Hitler's network of underground bunkers and secret facilities, many of which were destroyed or sealed after the war. But this one was not on any public record. Its location, depth, and structure suggest it may have been a backup headquarters, designed to be invisible to Allied bombers and strong enough to survive a prolonged assault. It may have even been a final retreat, if all else failed. What makes the discovery even more haunting is the silence around it. No local records mention its construction. No maps mark its location. It's as if the mountain itself had swallowed this piece of history whole, and only now decided to give it back. Archaeologists, military historians, and government officials are now involved. The site is being carefully examined, with every corner studied and every object catalogued. Rumors are swirling about documents that might still be hidden within the walls, orders, plans, even personal items that belonged to top Nazi officials. For now, no one is allowed in except for authorized personnel. But questions are already flooding in. Why was this place forgotten? Was it simply erased from memory or hidden on purpose? And most chilling of all, what else lies buried beneath Europe's peaceful hills and quiet forests? This unexpected discovery has shaken the calm of the Alpine region. A place known for its scenic beauty has revealed a dark, buried truth. And as experts dig deeper, the world watches, wondering just how many other secrets still lie sleeping beneath the soil of history. Let's dig into the details of the Nazi art theft, one of Nazis' serial thefts, a significant chapter of the Second World War. The Great Nazi Art Theft. During the terrifying years of Nazi rule in Germany, a massive and highly organized theft took place, one of the largest in human history. This wasn't just a war over land or politics, it was also a war against culture, identity, and memory. At the heart of it was something cold and calculated: Nazi plunder, known in German as Raubkunst, meaning stolen art. Starting as early as 1933, when Adolf Hitler rose to power, Jewish people in Germany began to suffer more than just discrimination. They began to lose everything. Their businesses were shut down, their homes taken, and their most treasured belongings seized. Among the items stolen were priceless works of art, family heirlooms, books, furniture, and religious objects. This campaign of theft became an essential part of the Holocaust. It wasn't just about removing people, it was about erasing their history. As the Nazis expanded their grip across Europe, invading countries like France, Poland, and the Netherlands, the looting continued on a massive scale. But it wasn't always done with brute force. In many cases, it was done with a twisted sense of legality or disguise. The Nazis created special units like the Kunstschutz, meaning art protection, which claimed they were safeguarding valuable artworks from the dangers of war. In reality, they were stealing these cultural treasures and shipping them back to Germany, or keeping them for top Nazi leaders. Gold and silver, foreign currency, ancient manuscripts, religious items, and some of the world's most famous paintings were taken. Some were displayed in German museums, others were hidden in underground bunkers, salt mines, or private collections. Hitler even dreamed of building a massive museum in his hometown of Linz, Austria, filled with the stolen artwork, what he called the Führer Museum. These stolen pieces weren't just things, they were symbols of people's stories, identities, and history. Every painting removed from a wall was a piece of someone's life being torn away. But the story doesn't end there. When the war finally ended in 1945, the world was shocked by the scale of the Nazi crimes. Not just the lives lost, but the culture destroyed or scattered. In response, the Allied forces created a special group called the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives Program, now famously known as the Monuments Men and Women. These were not soldiers in the usual sense. They were historians, artists, museum curators, librarians, and architects, people who deeply understood the value of cultural heritage. Their mission was to find the stolen treasures, protect damaged landmarks, and return what they could to the rightful owners. Thanks to their tireless work, thousands of artworks and cultural items were discovered in hidden locations across Europe. Many were returned to countries, museums, and even families. But the task was overwhelming and far from complete. Even today, hundreds of thousands of items remain missing or locked in legal battles. Some pieces were returned to governments but never made it back to the families from whom they were taken. Others are still hanging silently on the walls of private homes, galleries, or museums, sometimes without anyone knowing their dark history. Now, decades later, an international effort is underway to track down the remaining pieces of Nazi plunder. Museums around the world are revisiting their collections, checking records, and working with historians to uncover the truth. The goal is simple but powerful: to return these stolen objects to their rightful owners, their descendants, or their homelands. Because behind every stolen painting or ancient book lies a story. A family torn apart, a community erased, a life interrupted. Returning these treasures is not just about art. It's about justice, memory, and healing the wounds left behind by one of the darkest chapters in human history. Let's delve into the vast empire that has been long buried below the ground. Shadows of power. When most people think about Nazi Germany, they imagine terrifying military parades, fiery speeches, brutal concentration camps, and shocking invasions across Europe. But there was another, lesser-known side to Adolf Hitler's regime, one that didn't unfold in public view or on the battlefield. It happened underground, literally. Driven by fear, obsession, and a twisted vision of survival, Hitler and his inner circle built a vast, hidden world beneath the Earth's surface. This was not just about protecting themselves from bombs, it was about creating a network of secret places, some meant for safety, some for strategy, and others for long-term survival, even if the surface world was completely destroyed. Across Europe, Nazi engineers and architects dug deep. They carved into mountains, burrowed under forests, and built fortresses disguised by nature. Bunkers, tunnels, and entire hidden complexes were created in complete secrecy, many of which are only now being uncovered by historians and explorers. One of the most infamous of these places is the Wolf's Lair, located in the thick woodlands of what is now Poland. This heavily guarded bunker complex served as Hitler's main military headquarters on the Eastern Front during World War II. It was here that a group of German officers attempted to kill him on July 20, 1944, in what became one of the most daring and dramatic assassination plots in modern history. The plan failed, and the Wolf's Lair remained a symbol of both Hitler's paranoia and his unshakable grip on power. But the Wolf's Lair is only one part of this hidden world. Deeper in the Owl Mountains of Poland, something far more mysterious lies buried. Project Riese. The name Riese means giant in German, and it's fitting. This was one of the largest and most secretive Nazi construction projects ever attempted. What exactly it was meant to be remains unclear to this day. Some believe it was intended to be a secure underground command center for Nazi leaders. Others suggest it was supposed to house weapons factories, possibly even work related to atomic energy. Most of the tunnels have still not been fully explored, and the site remains steeped in mystery and legends, including rumors of hidden Nazi treasure. What's most chilling is that these weren't simple bomb shelters. They were part of a long-term plan, a last fortress concept, where the Nazi elite could hide, survive, and possibly even keep fighting long after Germany had fallen. Blueprints found in secret files after the war show detailed plans for underground hospitals, weapons factories, and even self-sustaining underground cities, complete with living quarters, power sources, and food storage. Just recently, another piece of this terrifying puzzle was discovered in the Bavarian Alps, near Hitler's former mountain retreat. Archaeologists uncovered a vast underground bunker with signs of living space and unexplored passageways. The layout suggests that this could have been a final hideout for the Nazi leadership if Berlin had fallen earlier than it did. It's as if they were preparing for a scenario where the world above was on fire. But the Third Reich would somehow continue, hidden beneath rock and earth. The Nazi regime's love for secrecy and control extended far below the surface, out of sight, but never out of mind. And even today, long after the war has ended, the echoes of those dark ambitions continue to surface. Each newly discovered tunnel or buried bunker tells us more about the extent to which Hitler and his followers were willing to go, not just to win, but to survive at all costs. What else lies hidden beneath our feet? What forgotten secrets still wait, buried in the shadows of war? One thing is certain. The underground empire of the Nazis is no longer just the stuff of myth. It's real, and we're only beginning to uncover its full, chilling scale. Has there been any genuine discovery made? Let's delve into the details of the unending hunt for Nazi secrets. Echoes of obsession. When Nazi Germany fell in 1945, it didn't take all its secrets with it. Some were left behind, hidden in tunnels, stashed in bunkers, locked behind steel doors deep in forests and mountains. Over time, these secrets didn't fade. They turned into stories whispered in villages, theories debated in books, and daring searches that continue to this day. Among these mysteries, none is more famous or more haunting than the legend of the Nazi gold train. The tale begins in the final months of World War II, as the Third Reich was collapsing and Allied forces were closing in from all sides. In the chaos, it's said that a heavily guarded train loaded with unimaginable wealth, crates of gold, stolen artworks, precious stones, and secret documents, disappeared somewhere in the Polish countryside. The train was reportedly last seen heading into the Owl Mountains of southwestern Poland. According to legend, it vanished into a hidden tunnel, sealed behind a thick steel gate, never to emerge again. It was a desperate move by high-ranking Nazis, hoping to hide their loot before the advancing Soviet Red Army could seize it. Some believed the train was part of a broader effort by the Nazis to bury their wealth and war crimes, literally, beneath the earth. For decades, the story hovered between myth and memory. Locals spoke of strange noises beneath the ground. Old maps hinted at train routes that didn't match anything in official records. Treasure hunters from around the world came with picks, shovels, and ground-penetrating radar, hoping to strike gold, both figuratively and literally. Yet, nothing concrete ever emerged, until recently. In 2023, the mystery deepened, and the legend flared back to life. Polish authorities received an anonymous letter. Its author claimed knowledge of 3 Nazi-era railway wagons sealed behind a steel door inside a long-forgotten hillside tunnel. The letter even included coordinates. Investigators, intrigued but cautious, began quiet surveys of the area. Not long after, near an abandoned Nazi bunker, a strange stretch of railway tracks was discovered, overgrown but unmistakably out of place. Satellite images and underground scans revealed man-made voids beneath the landscape. Suddenly, what had been considered folklore began to feel very real. These developments sparked renewed interest and wild speculation. Could the gold train finally be found? Was it still buried, untouched, since 1945? And if so, what else might lie within? This was more than a hunt for treasure. It was a search for pieces of history that had been hidden for decades. Documents that could reveal forgotten Nazi operations, artworks stolen from Jewish families, even whispers of secret weapons or technology the world had never seen. And this wasn't an isolated incident. In southern Germany, reports emerged of a hidden Bavarian bunker filled with crates marked with SS symbols. Some believed it could be connected to other stashes of lost Nazi loot. Elsewhere, explorers uncovered sealed caves, forgotten cellars beneath towns, and strange bricked-up doorways, each promising a clue to the tangled web of what the Nazis left behind. These discoveries raised thrilling questions. How much did the Nazis really manage to hide? Did some of them escape justice, using the treasures they concealed? And what might still be buried beneath Europe's forests, mountains, and ruins, waiting to be found? For historians, the answers could rewrite parts of what we know about the war's end. For governments, they could unlock unresolved crimes and repatriate stolen art. For the bold and the curious, it's a race against time and against the earth itself to unearth one of the last great mysteries of the modern world. Because sometimes history doesn't end with the war. Sometimes it waits in the dark, behind locked doors and buried tracks, calling out to those daring enough to find it. Let's dig further into the discovery of a forgotten underworld. Beneath the Bavarian pines, in the breathtaking highlands of Bavaria, Germany, where tourists flock to enjoy peaceful alpine views, wooden chalets, and charming villages, few suspect that the ground beneath their feet hides a chilling past. The lush meadows and postcard-perfect scenes once witnessed the shadows of war. But no one expected that one of the most stunning secrets of World War II would remain buried just below the surface for over 70 years, until now. It all began like any other renovation project. A local construction team had been hired to restore an old mountainside hotel built during the 1940s. The lodge, long dismissed as a relic of the past, was set to become a luxury guest house. But while digging beneath the foundations, the workers made a discovery that instantly halted their routine labor. Hidden under layers of crumbling concrete and decades of dust, they found a strange round metal hatch, cold to the touch, sealed tight, and eerily quiet. It begged to be opened. Driven by curiosity, they forced it open. What they found was a narrow, winding metal staircase spiraling down into darkness. With flashlights in hand, the crew descended slowly, the sound of each step echoing in the silence. No one had been down there in decades, yet the air was surprisingly dry. And at the bottom of the staircase, a door creaked open to reveal something truly astonishing. It wasn't a bunker. It wasn't a storeroom. It was something far stranger. They had entered what looked like a small underground apartment, perfectly preserved and untouched by time. The walls were intact, the furniture still in place. There was a study filled with dusty books written in both German and Latin, some with pages still marked. A narrow bedroom held a single bed, the curtains hanging limply but still attached. The bathroom, oddly enough, featured a large freestanding bathtub in the center, far more elegant than what would be expected in a wartime hideout. Everything pointed to this being more than just a shelter. This was a living space, and not for just anyone. There was a small kitchen area with rusting pots and pans still hanging. A sitting room with a vintage shortwave radio hinted at an occupant who stayed informed, perhaps even in contact with the outside world. The room was clean, simple, and built for long-term use. But what truly sent chills down the crew's spines were the personal belongings left behind. A single polished monocle rested on a side table. Beside it, a pair of tall, gleaming leather boots sat neatly arranged, untouched by dust. And then there was the journal. Bound in worn leather and filled with handwritten German text, the journal contained pages of strange coded entries, many of which ended with the same initials, AH. It didn't take long for word to spread. Historians and researchers arrived within days, carefully studying every inch of the underground complex. Some now believe that this may have been a private hideaway, designed specifically for Adolf Hitler, not simply a bunker to survive air raids, but a secret personal retreat, a place to live, to think, to escape, perhaps even to vanish. The hotel above it, once viewed as nothing more than an old Nazi-era building with no particular significance, may have been hiding something far more important. Could it have been built deliberately over the retreat as a cover? Could this forgotten space be the missing piece of a historical puzzle long thought solved? For now, the site has been sealed off and placed under investigation by German authorities and international historians. The journal is being carefully translated and analyzed, its mysterious entries possibly holding deeper clues. What began as a simple construction job has turned into an archaeological mystery, and perhaps a rewriting of one of history's darkest chapters. One thing is certain. In the quiet, beautiful hills of Bavaria, the past is never quite as far away as it seems. As expected, there were more terrifying facts linking Bavaria to Nazis' treasure. Let's take a look at the secret tunnels, vanishing points, and ghost traces encountered during the search for the Nazi bunker. The mazes below. At first glance, it seemed like nothing more than a forgotten apartment, long buried beneath the ruins of an old war-era structure. Dust hung thick in the air, the scent of decay clinging to every corner. The living quarters were eerily quiet, as though someone had left in a hurry, never to return. But then, something strange. Behind a wall-mounted bookshelf, bolted shut and covered in grime, investigators found a faint gap. It wasn't just decorative. With effort, they pried it open, revealing a dark, narrow passage. What lay beyond wasn't just another room. It was something far more elaborate, far more mysterious. As they stepped inside, the familiar gave way to the strange. The walls of faded plaster turned into cold, unmarked concrete. The further they went, the colder the air grew, and the heavier the silence became. It was no longer a secret hideout. This was something else entirely. It was an underground escape system, reinforced with thick steel beams and designed to withstand shock waves from above. The tunnel split like the roots of a tree, stretching out in multiple directions. This was not the hurried work of someone fleeing at the last minute. This had taken time, planning, and considerable resources. Investigators traced the paths one by one. One route twisted toward the edge of a nearby forest. Another slithered beneath the remains of a long-abandoned farmhouse, now sinking into the earth. A third led beneath an old, disused railway track, its rusted rails covered by a blanket of vines, as if nature herself had been enlisted to protect the secret. Each exit was expertly hidden. You could walk right past them without suspecting a thing. Whoever built this network didn't just want to hide, they wanted to vanish completely. The floors were lined with narrow tracks, remnants of handcarts, perhaps used to move supplies, documents, or something more sinister. Along the walls were strange markings, dates scratched into the surface, arrows pointing in odd directions, and codes no one has yet been able to crack. Above them, air vents had been installed, suggesting that the tunnel system was meant to be lived in, maybe for days, maybe longer. One branch led to a small, dim chamber, no larger than a prison cell. It was bare, save for a splintered wooden chair, a dusty kerosene lamp, and a few empty food tins scattered across the floor. Someone had been there. Someone had waited. But for how long? And for what or whom? There were no blueprints, no official records, no mention in Nazi construction logs or documents. It's as if the place never existed on paper. Yet, here it was, buried and forgotten, preserved in silence. Theories began to spread like wildfire. Some whispered that this had been Adolf Hitler's true emergency escape route, a final bolt hole should Berlin fall and the Allies come knocking. Others suggested the tunnels were meant not just for people, but for secrets, documents too damning to be discovered, relics of unspeakable power, or experimental weapons too dangerous to ever be allowed into enemy hands. Why build a tunnel so elaborate, only to let it disappear into myth? Why hide it so well that even modern radar scans missed it until now? Was this one of the Nazis' darkest secrets? Or a decoy meant to mislead their enemies while something even deeper, even darker, lay undiscovered beneath their feet? The more we uncover, the more the questions grow. Who used the tunnels? When? And most chilling of all, is anyone still using them? One thing is clear, this wasn't just an escape route. It was an erasure, a place built not only to help someone disappear, but to make sure no one ever remembered they were there at all. As the investigators keep searching, more revelations get unearthed. Let's dive into the details of the mysterious chamber that did not cease to defy time. The Vault of Shadows. The team of investigators had spent weeks exploring the underground complex, thinking they had seen every hidden passage, secret room, and cryptic document that this strange site had to offer. But just as they were preparing to wrap up their search, something unexpected caught their attention. A small, barely noticeable seam running down what appeared to be a solid concrete wall. At first, it looked like an ordinary part of the structure, but something about it felt off. Curious, they brought in a thermal imaging device to check for heat patterns. What the camera showed stunned them. A hidden outline, cooler than the wall around it, a concealed doorway. Their hearts raced. Using tools with the precision of surgeons, they pried open the hidden section. Dust and debris spilled out, revealing a steel-plated door buried behind the wall. It wasn't just another room. This was something entirely different. The moment they stepped inside, the air changed. It was thick, still, and carried a burnt, chemical smell that made breathing feel dangerous. The walls were covered in heavy metal sheets, far beyond what would be used for an ordinary room. It looked less like a shelter and more like a vault built to withstand a bomb or keep something locked inside. At the center stood a huge industrial safe, its surface dark with age, and its door locked shut with a padlock unlike anything they'd ever seen. It wasn't commercial. It looked custom-made, maybe even one of a kind. It took hours of careful work, using old locksmith techniques and digital tools before the lock finally gave way. The vault door creaked open with a deep groan that seemed to shake the floor. What they found inside would change everything. There were burned notebooks, the pages filled with hand-drawn symbols, formulas, and what looked like coded language. Nearby, sealed glass canisters held traces of unknown substances, some powdered, some liquid, all clearly stored with extreme caution. Several broken machines lay scattered across the floor. Some looked like early attempts at nuclear equipment. Others didn't resemble anything the team had seen before, not even in top-secret World War II archives. And then they saw it, a blackened file folder, half melted but still readable. Project Keller, German for Project Cellar. Whoever built this room had tried to erase it, but they hadn't succeeded. This wasn't just another war relic. It was a doorway into a top-secret operation, possibly one that continued long after the official end of the war. The contents pointed towards something far more advanced, far more secret than anything historians had previously imagined. Was it a lab, a weapons testing chamber, or something darker? But the surprises weren't over. In one corner of the chamber, they discovered what looked like an old elevator shaft. It was sealed tightly, the door rusted shut and bolted from the inside. Structural engineers warned against opening it immediately. The ground above it was unstable, but when they scanned it with radar, the data showed something large beneath the chamber. Another level? Another hidden complex? No one knows yet. Theories are already flying. Was this secret room a private escape bunker? Was it part of an abandoned Nazi research facility? Could it have been used by high-ranking officials after Berlin fell? Could Hitler himself have ordered its construction? Or worse, could someone have kept working down there long after the world thought it was all over? Right now, investigators are being tight-lipped, but they admit this. The find has upended everything we thought we knew. It's forcing experts, historians, and intelligence agencies to take another look at the war's final days. The implications are chilling. One thing is certain: something very important was meant to stay hidden here, possibly forever. And now that it's been found, the world may never look at the end of World War II the same way again. So, what do you think about the terrifying discovery of the Nazi bunker? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.